Stoicism, a philosophy for an age of chaos. You are living in an age of chaos where negative news floods your mind, societal expectations weigh heavily on your shoulders, and people race to prove themselves while losing direction within their own souls. In this context, Stoic philosophy, once thought to be asleep for thousands of years, returns like a moral compass, a remedy for the soul, and an art of living mindfully amidst the storm. Stoicism is not a philosophy to be merely read. It is a philosophy to be lived. It doesn't call you to be a superhero or a sage perched atop a mountain. It begins with the simplest things: how you start your morning, how you respond to criticism, your attitude in the face of difficulty, or your choice when standing between fame and conscience. What is Stoicism? Founded in the 3rd century BCE in ancient Greece, Stoicism is a school of philosophy that emphasizes living in accordance with nature, guided by reason, with the ultimate aim of living virtuously. Stoic philosophers like Zeno, Seneca, Epictetus, and Emperor Marcus Aurelius didn't just preach morality. They lived it, practiced it daily. Stoicism does not avoid suffering. It embraces it and learns from it. It does not lull you with blind optimism, but helps you face reality with clarity and act rightly within it. Why is Stoicism essential for our time? Because people today are led by emotion, shaped by social media, news, and invisible pressures. Because we live in an era of too many choices, but little meaning. Stoicism helps you determine what is truly worth living for. Because you cannot control the world, but you can absolutely control yourself, the only thing Stoicism truly concerns itself with. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Stoicism is the art of returning to simplicity, to the essentials, and to the enduring strength within yourself. The journey of this handbook. The material in your hands is not a dry lecture on philosophy. It is a living map, a set of vital principles distilled from classical Stoicism, reinterpreted for the 21st century. Each principle is a chapter, not only containing ideas, but also practice. You will be guided through stories, examples, practical exercises, and poignant reminders. You don't need to become a philosopher to live stoically. You just need the courage to look honestly at yourself and begin change with the smallest actions. These 5 principles will help you distinguish what is within your control and what is not. Live with virtue instead of chasing emotions. Restrain desire and simplify your life. Prepare for hardship and turn adversity into strength. Act without delay and live fully in the present. If you have ever felt lost in this world, question your self-worth, or wish to live more deeply without changing the world, then Stoicism is the path you've been looking for. Let these 5 principles be more than knowledge. Let them be the compass that guides you through the storms, toward a life of meaning, calm, decisive, and full of character. Principle 1. Clearly distinguish what is within and beyond your control. Your happiness depends on just 3 words. Control what you can. Epictetus. The first and most fundamental principle of Stoic philosophy is to clearly distinguish what lies within your control and what does not. As Epictetus said, it's not events that disturb you, but your judgment about them. 2 circles, a simpler world. The Stoics divided the world into 2 parts. The inner circle, the things you can control, your thoughts, behaviors, choices, goals, and attitudes. The outer circle, the things you cannot control, the weather, what others think, outcomes, illness, and death. All inner turmoil and suffering begin when you try to control what doesn't belong to you and neglect the only thing you truly own, yourself. The story of Epictetus, a free man in chains. As a slave, Epictetus had no control over where he lived, who owned him, or how often he was beaten. But he realized one thing: his thoughts and reactions belonged to him. When his master broke his leg, he calmly said, "I told you it would break." No resentment, no anger. Because while the body can be chained, the mind cannot. That is true freedom, inner freedom, born from knowing what is truly yours. The practice of distinction, a path to inner peace. When you're faced with a stressful situation, pause and ask yourself, is this within my control? How can I choose to respond? If I let go of trying to control this, would I feel lighter? Examples. Stuck in traffic? You can't control the road, but you can choose to breathe, stay calm, and maybe listen to a podcast. Someone criticizes you? You can't control their words, but you can choose to listen, respond calmly, or ignore it altogether. Letting go is not giving up. Some people misunderstand Stoicism as passivity. It's not. Stoicism is about taking powerful action within your control. You don't sit around waiting for fate. You act, but without attachment to the outcome. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do what is right, the rest, let it go." That's decisive action without pressure, initiative without obsession. Practice exercise, draw 2 circles. Grab a pen and paper and draw 2 concentric circles. In the inner circle, list everything you can control. In the outer circle, list the things you cannot control, but are currently worrying about. Then choose one item from the outer circle and write down how you could shift your attitude or behavior so that it no longer controls your emotions. Do this every week, and you'll begin to see life with more clarity, wisdom, and lightness. Principle 2. Live by virtue, not by emotion. If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. Marcus Aurelius. In a world ruled by fleeting emotions, impulsive reactions, and hasty decisions, returning to a solid foundation of ethics is an act of quiet revolution. Stoicism teaches that virtue, not emotion, pleasure, or desire, is the true compass that should guide every action. The story of the honest merchant. In an ancient port city, there was a merchant known for always telling the truth about his goods, even when honesty cost him money. While others lied to quickly sell spoiled barley, he labeled his goods accurately. When asked why he didn't take advantage of the situation, he replied, "Profit can be lost and regained, but character, once lost, is never fully recovered." He lived by one of the core Stoic principles: right action should not depend on reward or punishment. The 4 Stoic virtues. Wisdom, knowing what is good, what is bad, and what is indifferent. Courage, doing what is right even when it's hard, even when you're alone. Temperance, practicing self-control, knowing what is enough. Justice, treating others fairly and kindly. According to Stoic philosophy, all decisions should be filtered through these 4 virtues. If an action doesn't meet ethical standards, even if it brings benefit, it's not worth doing. To live by emotion is to be led by the nose. Emotions are not the enemy, but if you let them rule, you'll react on impulse rather than reason. Anger, envy, jealousy, lust, these are wild waves. Without a steady hand at the wheel, you'll drift, crash, and lose direction. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "A good man does not need to be told to do the right thing. He does it because it's who he is." That's the highest form of maturity, doing the right thing not for praise, not out of fear of judgment, but simply because it's right. Practice the ethical questions. Before taking action, especially in sensitive situations, pause and ask, does this action reflect virtue? If someone did this to me, would I think it's fair? Can I look myself in the mirror after doing this? These simple questions can save you from impulsive decisions that lead to lasting regret. Be a moral example, even if no one sees it. Stoicism doesn't teach you to boast about your virtue. It teaches you to live rightly in silence, like a pine tree standing tall in the cold wind, asking for no praise. A truly virtuous person doesn't need to prove anything. Their very presence speaks louder than words. You'll see this when you choose silence over retaliation, when you return extra change, when you own your mistakes instead of blaming others. Each of these actions is a moment where you rise above emotion and choose to live by virtue. Conclusion to Principle 2. In a world overwhelmed by emotion and ego, the person who lives by virtue is like a stone pillar standing firm in a storm. They don't need recognition, they don't wait for applause, they only need to know that they have lived rightly, and that no one can ever take away. Principle 3. Practice moderation and simplify your life. If you seek tranquility, do less, but not just less, do what's essential. Marcus Aurelius. In an age where everything is fast, excessive, and complex, choosing to live with moderation and simplicity is a powerful act. The Stoics understood that peace doesn't come from having more, it comes from needing less. The simpler the life, the deeper the inner world. The fewer attachments, the greater the freedom. The story of Seneca and the small hut. Seneca, one of the wealthiest Stoic philosophers, surprised many when he chose not to indulge in the luxury of his grand villas, instead spending several days each month in a humble cottage. He ate simply, dressed plainly, and slept on a hard bed. Not because he couldn't live lavishly, but because he refused to be dependent on comfort. Seneca wrote, "Get used to poverty so that when it arrives, it won't disturb you." This was not extreme asceticism. It was wise mental preparation. The person who lives with restraint is not afraid of loss because they are not attached. Stoic minimalism. Stoicism is the spiritual root of modern minimalism. But the Stoics didn't just declutter their homes. They decluttered their desires, expectations, and energy-draining habits. Consume less to lighten the mind. Speak less nonsense so words carry more weight. Expect less to be happier with what you already have. Moderation isn't about depriving yourself. It's about gaining clarity on what truly matters. You don't need to abandon comfort, but you must not let comfort control your inner world. The benefits of simplicity. Clearer mind, fewer distractions from endless choices. More stable emotions, because expectations are more grounded. Greater effectiveness. Focus goes to what truly matters. More freedom, not dependent on material things, people, or circumstances. As Epictetus said, freedom isn't found in power, it's found in detachment. Practice exercise, a day of restraint. Choose one day each week to practice moderation. No social media, no spending, except for essentials. Eat simple meals. Spend time in silence, read, or write in a journal. When you do this, you'll discover that many things you thought you needed were just habits, and you'll feel a new kind of freedom awaken within you. Live less to live more deeply. A Stoic doesn't need countless relationships, possessions, or experiences to feel fulfilled. They choose quality over quantity. A simple meal eaten mindfully, a deep conversation instead of dozens of shallow texts. That's what the Stoic aims for. You don't have to move to the forest or become a hermit to live simply. You just need to start by asking, what's taking up too much time and energy but adding little value? Cut it. Let it go. Conclusion to Principle 3. Moderation and simplicity do not make you less, they make you stronger. They don't strip away your freedom, they return it to you. In a world that encourages consumption and competition, you choose to live with less, but live authentically.
That is the pinnacle of Stoic awareness. Principle 4. Prepare for the worst.
Premeditatio malorum. The wise man prepares for misfortune before it arrives. Seneca. Life is full of unexpected events. Job loss, illness, betrayal, accidents, separation. While many people try to avoid thinking about misfortune as if ignoring it will keep it away, the Stoics do the opposite. They prepare. Not with pessimism, but with a proactive, resilient, and mindful mindset. They call this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. The story of the general and the sudden storm. Before every battle, an ancient Greek general would spend a day imagining the worst-case scenarios. The enemy is stronger, his army gets divided, supplies don't arrive, allies betray him. He wrote down responses for each situation, so when the worst actually happened, he didn't panic. He was mentally prepared. That is the power of premeditatio malorum. Why think about bad things? It may sound negative, but visualizing misfortune helps you lessen the shock when it does occur. Have a plan in place. Appreciate what you have right now. Avoid becoming complacent in comfort. Seneca wrote, "Nothing happens to the wise man unexpectedly." How to practice premeditatio malorum. In the morning or evening, spend a few minutes imagining one bad thing that could happen in the day ahead. A failed meeting, a conflict, bad news. Then write down your ideal response. I will remain calm, take a deep breath, see the bigger picture, and avoid blame. Ask yourself, if this really happens, what can I learn from it? Will it destroy me? Usually the answer is no. You're not wishing for the worst, you're preparing for it like a warrior. And when bad things don't happen, you feel gratitude. When they do, you're not surprised. Premeditatio malorum and gratitude. When you imagine losing something, you learn to appreciate it more. Try this exercise. Imagine this is the last meal with a loved one. Imagine this is the last time you feel healthy. Imagine this is your last conscious morning. That feeling deepens how you live, how you love, and how present you are in every moment. Not pessimism, but deep realism. The Stoics don't promote gloominess. They teach that the world is unpredictable, and you must train your inner strength to face it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You were born to withstand difficulty, so don't be surprised when it comes. Instead of panic, you'll say, 'I saw this coming. I'm not paralyzed by it. I know what I must do.'" Advanced practice. Try living without. A day without your phone, a meal of simple plain food, a week with limited spending. These small experiments show you that you can survive without many things you thought were quote-unquote essential. You'll realize you're stronger and less dependent than you think. Conclusion to Principle 4. Bad things don't always happen, but when they do, you'll be the one who's ready. While others panic, you stay calm. While others collapse, you stand firm. That is the strength of premeditatio malorum, an invisible shield that protects you through life's uncertainty. Principle 5. Act now. Procrastination is the enemy of virtue. You are not living your whole life. You are living this very moment. Act as if it were the last thing you do. Marcus Aurelius. One of the greatest temptations of the modern mind is procrastination. Postponing good deeds, delaying personal change, deferring the pursuit of a meaningful life. But the Stoics saw procrastination not just as laziness, but as a dangerous act of self-betrayal, wasting life moment by moment. The story of Seneca and the final letter. In a letter to his close student, Seneca wrote, "We die every day. Each minute not lived rightly is a part of life stolen from us." He spoke of people who wait until they have time to study philosophy or live by their ideals. But that day never comes. Seneca advised, "Live today as if it were your last." Not to be reckless, but to live with discipline, fullness, and depth. Why do we procrastinate? We wait for perfection before starting. We fear failure, so we hesitate. We think we still have time, but all of that is illusion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You act like you'll live forever, but the truth is, you could die tomorrow." The Stoics were not pessimists, they were awake. They understood that life is finite, so they refused to waste it on delay. Each day is a miniature life. Epictetus taught his students to ask every morning, "How will I use this day if it's my last chance?" This question helps you avoid wasting time on meaningless things. Stop waiting for motivation. Act even without it. Face difficulty with integrity instead of hiding from it. Action is inner discipline, a commitment to your chosen values and purpose. Practice exercise, the 5-minute rule. When you're about to procrastinate, writing, exercising, studying, make a small promise. "I'll do it for just 5 minutes." Often those first 5 minutes are enough to break the initial resistance, and once you've started, you'll likely continue. Don't wait for inspiration. Create it through action. Act, even if it's not perfect. The Stoics didn't wait for the perfect moment to act. They acted even when they weren't ready, even when it was hard, even when they were afraid. Because virtue doesn't lie in the outcome, but in the right action itself. You don't need to start big, you just need to start. One small good deed today is worth more than 1,000 grand plans never begun. Conclusion to Principle 5. You don't control time, but you do control how you live within it. Procrastination is self-theft. Action is the most vivid expression of awareness. So if something is right, do it now. If something is good, start today.